I have something to say, and it's going to be controversial, and this will be the last official video on my channel, on this channel, besides the update video. I have a lot of anger and hatred, but that wasn't put there because of preconceived notions or genetic whatever. I live in the Midwest of the United States, predominantly in the most liberal, woke areas of that spot in the US. I've seen people in the streets starve. I've seen friends and families' living situations get worse. I've seen gross negligence of the local governments cause even a friend of mine to have to vacate their homes because of a fire, and a lot of other shit. So, I'm gonna say straight up that everything that's happened so far with the recent election, inauguration, and actions of Trump, I do not believe in. But when everybody on the left side says that it's the voters' problem, that's not a problem, you're the problem. I'm gonna be straight up right now. Alright, I'm gonna break down exactly what I think about living in a woke communist state in the US. When the founding fathers wrote the Constitution and when the Bill of Rights was written, they didn't have in mind people policing speech. You can't say racial slurs or you can't say swear words even nowadays without getting chewed out and put on the media, without the news, and how that affects your job. People people in corporate towers see faces a lot more on screens than they ever do in person, especially the other sex, if you get what I'm saying. Yeah, they'll know you if you get popular enough for the wrong reasons. So that's, you know, actually physically detrimenting, and that's the reason why defamation laws exist, because you ruining somebody's ability to get a job, the very main thing in this country to survive, and that's threatening their life. I mean, indirectly, but you're threatening someone's life because they said something. You think they should starve? Do you think they should slowly die in the streets in a cold winter? Is that what we're reduced to? Is that what we're reduced to, left? Left wing? Killing people slowly because of their beliefs? Even if they're bad? Being racist towards white people because they're white? Just because of that? It's not like certain Martin Luther King Jr. didn't say that you know, it's not the color of the skin, it's the character. I know I butchered it, but I'm just so upset because you promote love by telling kids they're transgender in schools. You rewrite history and or get rid of it from school curriculars. You say to people that, of course, that you have rights. Meanwhile, you turn around and you kill whistleblowers for companies, and just because you think it's correct. Or you, again, do career suicide on people online by plastering their face everywhere for saying one simple thing. You don't understand that every single thing you've ever accused of moderate people or the right of being, you have not only been yourself, but actually been 3 times worse. Every single time you defend somebody for being stereotyped, you're actually affirming the stereotype. Because, of course, Like, of course, stop being racist. Stop saying that, these certain kind of people eat chicken. Of course that they do. Don't get on them for that. Like, oh wow, you're racist. Like, because you say that they listen to rap music. I'm I have a perfect example here. I remember when I was still in high school, I was giving a presentation, right, about a science project. And the person in the back of the class said that, hey, why don't you hurry it up? This is boring. And I said, I might be boring, but at least I don't listen to rap music, unlike you. And I was called a racist for that, because he was black. I didn't see the race, I saw the age demographic. So how am I the racist one when I don't see the race? See, when people are starving in the streets because the prices are going up, also because of the left, these same people who made the prices higher are sitting in their ivory towers bickering to themselves about how we should change pronouns again for the fifth time because it's not working. People are starving in the streets and you're trying to figure out how to change the culture again. And you wonder why people don't vote for you. You claim that people are evil when you're sitting there actually reaffirming stereotypical cultural norms by encouraging people to stay the same. Meanwhile, you also plaster white people as terrible. I, you're fucking hypocrites. And worse, you're killers. You're thieves. You're psychopaths. Seriously, the types of tactics you've pulled just to try and get more voters on your side during the election was astronomical. I'm not saying the right is completely blameless. I'm not saying that they are without fault. I'm saying you're the ones who led people to burn cities and shit protests and endorsed rebellions after Trump got elected. You're the ones who promoted movements that not only gutted communities but starved them. You are the ones who, when you get a lead in politics in any state, you burn that fucking state for every dime it's worth and then say that it was the white man's problem. And then you say they're evil when they don't pick up the slack. You know who did that too? Your party in the fucking 1800s as the Confederates. Anyone who's watching this, right? Yeah, the Democrats were the ones who were actually in charge of the Confederacy. They were the ones who were vying for slavery. And I guess they're still trying to go for that option, except wage slavery, cultural slavery, you know, and dictating speech. Ain't that crazy, right? Think about it. Every single stereotype that you've ever seen in any race has also tripled because they genuinely believe that they're being like that it's the right thing to do. Cause yes. Let me explain to you what exploitation is versus promotion. Promotion is when you make a figurehead and say that this right here is a good example of what happens to these kinds of people if, they're mistreated, right? Well, what if you keep saying that every time your party needs a vote? What if you keep saying that every time that you need somebody in office? That's exploitation. You say you're for black people, but you're exploiting them. You say that they're the only ones who can have jobs now. You're saying they're the only ones who can have degrees now. You're saying that they're the only ones who can be in unions. Meanwhile, then you smuggle fentanyl into those same communities so you keep them in line. It's exploitation. You're exploiting black people. You're not you're not you're not virtue signaling anybody here. And the only people who you actually get are the upper middle class and upper class idiots who have nepo jobs. People who cut off their own balls deliberately because they're afraid of being a male. I'm gay. I'm a femboy. Alright? And I'm not doing this shit. On the right and even in the moderate section, you can be gay. You can be a femboy. You can be girly and still not be a communist. You can still want human rights. Alright? So when I say that, when I say specifically, right, I'm against the left, it's not because I'm just your stereotypical white male. I fall in the demographic of the people who are so far to the left they would suck Stalin off. But no, I'm in the middle to slightly to the right as a libertarian. Alright? Don't confuse that with liberal. Liberal means communism. Libertarian means freedom. So what I'm trying to say here is that they promote the guise of human rights when they exploit people. They promote the guise of freedom when they police the language. They promote the guise of love, again, pushing the idea that every kid in school is trans and should also follow the political shit of full-grown adults. But then they also promote that they're the right side of history when they're leaving the podiums when a reporter doesn't follow script. When people are starving in the streets. When entire communities, again, are being gutted. When jobs are not being given to white people anymore. So when you're committing cultural and physical even genocide of an entire race because you feel as though that everyone else needs a better chance, and out of revenge, even though that the people alive today are not the same people who committed the atrocities in the 1800s, then does that really make you the good guys? Does that make you good? Let's say theoretically you win every argument. Let's say theoretically you're right and say, oh, I'm wrong. How do you justify white people being classed, by giving them a handicap? How do you justify castrating every male and making sperm banks the only way for women now to have children? How do you justify going to a 13-year-old, gaslighting him to cutting whatever off of him you want, and feel good about that? How do you feel good about that? How does that make you feel? Some of you people who are on the left might not be that far leaning. And some of you who are that far leaning but say you're not, I want to give you a thought experiment here. If you are telling every single person who's in the slightly to the left, the moderate, or slightly to the right that they're not communists, or they're not communists, they're Nazis. If you're telling them in the moderate that they're Nazis and that they're extremists, right-wing extremists, isn't that a little extreme to say that people in the moderate are Nazis? Doesn't that make you extreme to have such an extreme idea? Does it? Aren't you not extreme yourself? Aren't you not a leftist extremist? The same kind, again, that led to people going to gulags, getting put in internment camps, worked to death in Siberia. The same one that failed to feed a nation to the point where, again, they all starved to death. You fucking liberals, you woke idiots, you're all communists. Don't you get it? You've just been gaslit into becoming communists. All you do is kill people. That's all you ever have done. That's all you ever are good at is killing countries, killing civilizations. Because your policies don't work. Your structure doesn't work. Everything you do doesn't work. You're just fucking man children all circle jerking each other into oblivion. And every other single innocent man, woman, and child has to live with your actions, has to live with your depravity. And they don't live long because, guess what? Your barbaric, depraved, childish mindset kills everybody. Communism has killed more people on this planet than any other ideology. For a reason. For a reason. And I'm going to break down exactly how your policies now really start killing people. A woman going home from the grocery store for kids just got her gun taken away from the government because they banned it. The guy who got his gun from the black market doesn't give a shit about that and about those laws and mugs the woman and kills her. Takes money and the food. By the way, the same food that you just made expensive because of your taxes that you've increased for your quote-unquote programs that you have. And that food being used, what, right, for food stamps that you have? That's generous. If you would have reduced those taxes and prices and enacted economic policies that reduce the tax bracket in general on income and food, and also made laws that prevented companies from raising prices on certain necessity goods, she would have been able to afford that food anyway without those food stamps and still been able to afford more. Keep that in mind. So, now there's orphan children who are starving because of you, right? You can say, oh, well, I can't control it. If you put a gun in every family, no one shoots each other because everyone knows everyone else is strapped. Whole civilizations have not had many civil problems because everyone had a weapon. And that was a fact. So, what I'm trying to say here is that now you're putting weapons in the hands of people who don't care about these gun laws. And then the people who have to abide by them, the people who actually care about following the law, they, right, they don't have weapons. Because of every single gun law enacted, every single legislative bill passed against guns, the black market gets more customers, gets a wider variety of things to sell. Criminals make fucking millions off of these stupid laws. You know why? Because they can always have the structure to build them. Well, it's reducing the amount. No. You go to a cartel warehouse and tell me there's not a lack of fucking guns on a rack. Ask the ATF that question. No, ask the FBI, the more competent people. And they'll tell you, these guys have guns for days in the US, just stashed in fucking warehouses. Alright? I work at a warehouse. I'm not saying that it happens at my warehouse. Mine's actually pretty cool. But if I saw a big fucking box in the corner, covered by other boxes, personally, if I was on the job and I was just doing my 9 to 5, I wouldn't notice. Could have parts kits. Could have bullets. You don't know. My point is that, like, a couple warehouses in the middle, fuck ton, wherever, can just have stashes of whatever illegal shit. You can't control the weapons trade. You just can't. The country, this geographical continent is too big There's too much space, too many resources. Literally the sheer raw resources you can get from a Home Depot even. So when you take guns away from the average citizen, and you take food away from the entire population, the criminals just have guns and are stealing food and killing people. And that has been the end result. The city I'm in has that exact fucking type of dynamic play out day after day. The city I'm in has one of the highest crime rates with firearms in the country. And yet it has the most gun laws. Texas has the least amount of gun laws and has the lowest gun crime rate. 'Cause they feed their people for actual worthwhile food and the amounts that people actually need. They have guns in every home, so when there's someone still found wanting, they are met with 20 more barrels in their face. And if you think that sounds barbaric, remember, I call you barbaric for what you do to kids. What you tell them to do. What you promote when they're growing up. Alright? So if I sound barbaric, I'm sorry, but guess what? Guess what? I'm not the one who's literally screwing with our next generation because we want more votes. Okay? And this video sounds like it's tailored to an average politician. No, it's not. I'm talking again to you regular woke communists out there too. You can say all you want that you don't believe in this specific thing or that specific thing. You still align yourself with the people who do, and you're not outspoken against them. I am. Okay? You're still in the camp, even if you're not the one killing the prisoners in it. You're still wearing the hammer and sickle, just not as hard as some of the others. Okay? So don't give me that bullshit. Gun control, right. So, and that thing I said about the fentanyl, yes, that's another thing. The average person who wants to make a family, who wants to have kids, doesn't want their kids to be gaslit there. I'm heavily emphasis on this because I had this happen in my school and in my friends and in other of my friends' schools. But I'm saying this specifically of think of the next generation if you fuck them up, of what's that going to do to our country, our race as a species. So the average family, right? So kids going to learn to be transgender, not learning real history, getting crammed full of enough math to make them forget their own maiden name. And so the wife, right, super feminist, works from home, go get her, right, makes the big bucks, makes all the decisions, and she's making decisions even though she's, doing too much, right? So the guy, he's told to dress a certain way. He's told to speak a certain way. He's told to look a certain way with his skin color. If you can't, tough shit. And he, right, is getting mugged. And he has his wallet stolen. He can't defend himself because the state law stipulates that even if he defends himself in self-defense, because of the woke state he's in, he's going to get prosecuted too if he defends himself. Which is a real thing. And then he's still, he can't have enough money to afford food because turns out only him, his wife working, from home, being the go-getter, isn't paying enough for the place they live at, let alone the food. So they got food stamp cards, right? Well, they can't afford gas anymore, but they can afford the food to go get it. Or they can afford the food that they need gas to get. with that food stamp card, right? He gets a job that pays minimum wage. He doesn't get the card anymore. And so now he's getting paid money from the government, but most of it's going to food and barely any of it's going to anything else. So, again, stuck, right? So, he sees all these prices go up. He sees his family struggling. And he looks at a hotel and he sees Jorge from across the fucking border living in a hotel. Completely for free. He got his license to drive the moment he came to the state. He got his fucking food card and everything. Same day. And then he looks at a drug addict. He also goes into the hotel. Mind you, it's a 5-star, right? And he's shooting up in the hotel. And those two aren't working. The drug addict and the immigrant. But this guy is. He's busting his ass for a unit that's a little bit bigger, but barely. He's not going to be able to keep it forever because eventually he's going to rack up so much debt they're going to kick him out. His wife and his kid out on the street. Just because they're white and they work. That's the kind of state that wokies and communist leftist idiots promote. Families out in the street dying. Drug addicts and immigrants shooting up and living. Is that really the kind of fucking country you want? Is that really what the good guys promote? I mean, mutilating and starving children. That's barbaric. There's no way around it. It doesn't matter how you go about it. It's the fact that it's happening makes it barbaric. So it doesn't matter that they're doing it themselves or getting a doctor to do it. It doesn't matter if it's a slow burn starvation after, bills. It's a struggle that they're trying to put to survive, and you're just taking from them and leaving them to die. And then you're giving what you've stolen from these people because certain types of taxes should be illegal, which I'll get to in a sec. And you give what you stole from these families, again, over to these people who are new to the country and drug addicts. Because they need help, right? That's sick. That's fucking sick. You choose to do drugs. I hate to say it. You go cold turkey or you fucking die. Alright? You come here from another country illegally, you're breaking a law. You come here naturally or you don't come at all. Right? What I'm trying to say here is that if you really think, after me talking about all of this, talking about how basically society is treating the average person like shit while treating assholes, maniacs, and incentivizing this kind of behavior makes society great. If you really think that this is what makes society great, fine. You've never lived where I've lived. You've never seen places left behind by left leaders, by these idiots in office. You haven't seen what it's like to be persecuted for being a male, for being a person who seems straight. Because I'm outwardly sounding straight. Right? You've never seen this happen to you because you are in a upper middle class home as a cisgender male. Or female, or whatever. So when people actually support taking away guns, taking away food, taking away safety and security for families, and taking away money, then it doesn't change the fact that it's happening. Even if you say it's for equality, even if you say it's for programs to help people, even if you say, no, the amounts that the people on the left steal from everybody through frivolous taxes goes to their pockets when the rest is crumb fed to everybody else as a sign of benevolence. Alright? It's disgusting. It's disgusting behavior. You should be ashamed of yourself if you are a libtard. 'Cause there is no feasible way a human being has to live castrated, left out in the cold, and told that every single thought and feeling that they ever have should be repressed. That's again communism. And if you don't think so, trust me, if enough people are saying it, it's probably the truth. And there's over a couple million people out there, like me, who are tired of living in a state run by these people, tired in a state that's being left by these people to die. Alright? Leftist politicians are more corrupt. Way more corrupt. Disgusting. Diabolically just absolutely degenerative. And everything else under the sun. For a reason. So if you support them, you're supporting the death of families, hardworking families. You support people trying to make it day to day, starving to death on the streets. You support racism by enablest racism, which is a real kind of racism. You support evil. You support death. For me, for you, for families, for everybody. Because communism kills. Communism makes wars. Communism does more damage to our species than any other. Any sort of socialist collectivism, any sort of thing. Because human beings need to be individually able to figure it out in order to survive. If you make a system based on other people's goodwill and functionality, and then you put people in there through DEI programs to not have it function properly, you're going to have society run by people who can't do their job. That means that every single facet of the logistics program that you've set up to keep society running in its imprisoned state doesn't work. And if you think that's a bunch of bullshit, do you think a firefighter in a wheelchair is going to save you from a burning building and stairs? Do you think that a 400-pound obese woman is going to be able to shoot or run after and then shoot a criminal who just mugged you? No. No. Society runs on the fact that people can do things and can't do things. Society runs on the fact that people specifically can do the jobs they're in. Giving entitled, disabled people positions that they are not fit for in civil functions that are critical for the survival of families, financially or physically, in any way. Putting disabled people in those positions is wrong. Those people deserve to have jobs too, and to survive, I do believe, yes. But certain kinds of positions you just can't. You just can't. There's positions as an autistic person I can never be in, and I understand why. What I'm trying to say here is that there are unique things for unique people, and I understand that. I believe in that too. but specifically trying to make everything special, trying to make everything political, trying to make every single facet of society controlled and policed through quote unquote political correctiveness or social righteousness is disgusting. It's barbaric. You're painting rainbows over a tapestry of you strangling the life out of everyone. That's how I see you. I see you communists, you wokeists, you far leftists, as murderers, killers, thieves, and criminals. Because all you've ever done as a mindless collective of diseased humans have ever done in human history was burn civilizations, kill people, and steal. I believe in human rights. You do not. There's a difference into how you give those rights to people. And you haven't even done that to give. You just took while flashing your typical person on stage. Most fucking obvious swindle job ever. I'm gonna close with this. If I, for some odd reason, am canceled or hated online by everybody for my ideals, I'm gonna say this. If you have to get me fired from my job, if you have to get me canceled online, if you have to say the most horrendous shit against me just because I said that I think that the left genuinely is a threat to us as a species, and broke down how and why actually even, then how does that show your ideology is superior when you have to do all of those things to tear me down just to silence me, just to get rid of me? You don't argue against it. You don't say how these things don't happen. You just say I'm terrible. You don't say reason why and how. You say I'm racist when I call you out for being racist. I want a real response if someone's actually mad out there. And I want you to watch this whole fucking video. And if you can't do that, then you don't understand, and you won't ever. If you can't dedicate 40 minutes just to understand the whole political idea of the left wants to kill us all, even if they don't know it, which is a term I coined myself, for myself to say, then I don't know. It just seems like you're having to defend an ideology by killing every other one. And it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Not a thing I said here I meant because I want somebody hurt. I said everything here out of a passion to make sure people don't die, people don't get hurt. Because I actually care. I don't care about Shaniqua from down the street because she got called the wrong name. I don't care about, Zach Guterman, from New Mexico for being called out for being, that I don't care. As in, I don't care about the fact that he's Mexican. I don't care about the fact that Shaniqua is black. I don't care about other shit like that. I care about all of humanity. I don't see race. I see stereotypes based off of culture, but not race. There's a difference there. So, if you woke communists actually get to this part of the video, I'm gonna say, I'm not the bad guy for calling you out on all of the bullshit you've committed these past couple years, for ruining a country that had no business being governed this way, being policed this way by people who don't know what it's like to live in the fucking dirt. Alright? I'm a human being. I deserve to be free. Every other human being deserves to be free. Without limitation, as long as it doesn't hurt others. And if that's wrong, in your eyes, remember that a 4x4 concrete cell is what you want for the rest of humanity. And if you genuinely don't see it like that, look at how the Soviet Union became, in full swing. That is what you want for us to live like. And it's disgusting and barbaric. The left is the bad guys. They're the threat to this country. And I want to be vocal about it as someone who has lived in captivity in a leftist state for my whole life. That's all I'm going to say.